I'm no longer consumer debt free anymore. Hi guys, it's Elena from Financialdemics, where I give you the tips and tools to manage your money, increase your savings and your income, and decrease your debt. And yeah, I'm no longer consumer debt free anymore. Okay, so you heard that right. I am no longer consumer debt free, and we're going to talk about it and my plan to get out of debt. If you checked out my video on my 2020 financial goals update, then I talked about how my kid was in a car accident and he needed another car. So that car was completely totaled. It was a paid for car. I call it a papa car, or it could be a grandma car, but I know a man previously owned this car, and a papa car is a really nice car that is a older model, but it was in excellent condition with low mileage. So this car was, it was very old. I think it was probably like 16 years old, but it had very low mileage. It was the top of the line for that year. Everything was really nice. I wouldn't say it was in pristine condition, but it was in really good condition. And so when he got hit, of course, the airbags deployed, all this stuff, car is totaled. So since that car was paid for, we had to decide what we were going to do. As we decided to start looking for new cars, of course, we were looking for something fairly similar, like a good papa car. But y'all, where I live, because of what's going on, cars are being sold and snatched up like nobody's business. And it was really hard to kind of find a car that fit into the requirements, because I at least wanted to have, it was older, it needed to have lower miles for the years, and most older cars, the miles were just way too high. Typically I look at mileage at 15,000 miles per year based on the age of the car, and it was just a struggle. And if it did have lower miles, like they were asking way more than the car was worth, it was just ridiculous. So I decided, like, okay, maybe I should look at a little bit of a newer car, not a brand new car, still a used car, but of course not as old. And as I started looking at the prices on those newer cars, y'all, I don't know when the last time you've looked for a car, but my husband and I, our cars are fairly old, because where we live, it's not like you need a newer car. You're not driving that far, and we have a lot of public transportation, even though we're not really using it at this moment. But we know, certain places we can use public transportation to get there, or it's not far, like it's not a long distance. And so I had not really been looking at cars. And so I started looking at cars before we got him this last car, and I realized what the prices were like. And typically where we live, because cars are not in high demand, cars are cheaper than in other places. Well, with everything going on, cars have become in high demand here. And y'all, the prices of cars have gone up in, I would say, the last 6 months by at minimum like $3,000. They're really going for what they were worth. Before, they would sell them a little below what they were worth, because people weren't buying them like that. But now they're going for what they're worth. And with all those technological upgrades that are now required, woo, y'all, I was not ready for this. So after, looking at the prices of cars and just looking at the different options that were out there, looking at like wear and tear on different cars, and we checked out a lot of cars. It took us a minute to get him a new car, just because really just trying to figure out what did we want to do, what did we want to get. And so then we finally made a decision that we were going to get him a newer model car. We were still looking at some other cars, but when I say newer model, y'all, I mean like this car is 3 years old. So it's not like a brand new car, but just something that I felt like would be safe because, again, my kid goes to school far away from here. And so I didn't want to have to be like keeping up on a lot of maintenance, not the routine maintenance, but any like repairs and things like that. So I decided to do a certified used car. But then also, like, my kid, I mentioned he's in college. He has like internship requirements and things like that. So he needed to be able to get around, and he does not live on campus. So that was like, we knew he needed another car to be able to get around. And I know some of y'all gonna say like, oh, he could take Uber or Lyft. Y'all, I was paying more than the car payment in Ubers and Lyfts. So it just didn't make sense to me at all to be paying this type of money for him to get around. And plus, with what's going on right now, I just really don't want him in all these different Ubers and Lyfts, okay? You need to be in your own stuff, getting around however you can. So since we made this decision to get a newer car, from there I had to decide like how we were going to pay for the car. And we probably could have pulled from savings. Like, I know some people are like, well, why didn't you pull from savings? No. No, not right now. If this was a year from now, I probably would have willingly done it, but not in this current state in which we're in. I just don't think it's smart to do that, and I'd rather figure out a way to fit it into my budget than to spend money that I have that can be used if something else were to happen. So that was a no-go for me. So I made the conscious decision to take out a loan for this car. And also because I do have a good credit score. My credit score is in the higher 700s. I was able to get a really low interest rate, which made the car payment so low, y'all. Like, truthfully, when I'm thinking about it, the car that I have now, the price of the car that I bought my son was less, but also it wasn't that much less. Like, I did the math comparison. Y'all, it is really important to keep your credit in a good place. And I know in order to have a good interest rate or to have good credit, you have to use debt. But if you can develop the discipline to use debt in a way that benefits you, then it is going to pay off in the long run. Even when my husband heard what the payment was going to be, he was like, oh, I can work with that. Okay, my husband has an accent. I cannot imitate it for the world. I tried. It's bad. That's okay. Moving on. And so he was really happy with the amount of the actual payment because it's very low. It actually easily fits into the budget. So let's talk about my plan to pay this car off. So I'm one of those people who tries to pay their car off quickly every single time. And I actually should say I do, because I actually have achieved it with every single car that I have owned. I have paid it off within 2 to 3 years. Now, this particular car, I do not want to take 2 years to pay it off. I actually want to pay it off in the next year, but I'm trying to be a little realistic with, I told you our goals last week that, maybe a year and a half at most, that it's going to take to pay this car off. And so I want to give you a little insight on the plan of how to pay it off. So as I already mentioned, it does fit easily in the budget because the car payment is not that high. But I actually realized I have a stream of income that could pay off this car easily. So the stream of income brings in more than the actual car payment, even after I set aside money for taxes and things like that. Also, my son's father is still contributing towards the car. So that's going to also be going towards the car payment. So my thoughts is my son's father's contributing half. I'm contributing half, and then I still have more money left over, right? Because this stream of income can cover the whole car payment, not just half. So the plan is to take the whole amount that I take as income from this particular stream and put that on the car payment every single month. Then also take the amount that his father is contributing and put that also on the balance of the loan every single month. And then I'm thinking, since it actually kind of fits into the budget, to go ahead and pay from the budget also, but I'm not exactly sure yet. I actually have an opportunity that may allow for me to, just put even more towards it. But the plan is to actually continually throw any extra income that is coming in towards this particular debt so that I can pay it off quickly, especially since, as I mentioned before in my last video, my savings goal is to add some money back to my savings. So I have that already allocated in my budget, but I can use that extra income to pay off the car within a year, year and a half. But this is why I always say personal finance is personal. I made this decision based off of what we could afford, what needed to happen, and what made us feel comfortable as far as my kid and being able to get back and forth to school, but also back and forth from here to school, because like I said, he goes to school pretty far away. And it was important for him to not get necessarily stuck on the side of the road. Not saying it can't happen, but lower that chance that he gets stuck on the side of the road. And it was easy for me to actually make the final decision when we got to this point, just going back and forth. We were trying to figure out, what was best. But once I just sat down and did my financial checkup, and that's what happened. I did it at the end of October, and I was just going through my numbers, and I was like, oh, you really could make this happen if you really wanted to make it happen. It showed me that I had the opportunity to be able to purchase this car, be able to make the payments, and actually make it quickly and pay it off quickly. And so that's why I was able to make that decision. I don't want to say it was a quick decision, because of course, what you can do and what you want to do are two different things. But I definitely was like, oh, it's there. Now, do I want to make this type of commitment right now? So I will link the download to my financial checkup action plan below. If you feel like you need more guidance on how to see where you stand financially, then you can sign up for a financial checkup coaching session with me. I'll link that down below also. And during that session, you will be able to see where you stand financially, but then also we'll be able to create a plan for you to be able to reach your financial goals. If you have any questions about anything I said today, or the process of purchasing a car, or anything like that, then let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you're still here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I will see you next week with an all new video.